This is David Filippo, the left-handed right winger again. And I was kind of looking back through my videos, and I noticed I talked about other movies that I like. And I ended at my number 3, and I never talked about the Terminator. I was thinking, oh, maybe I should, because I talked about Die Hard, I talked about Back to the Future. But I would like to talk about the Terminator series, because it's really good. And actually, I don't know if I'm one of the few, but I know a lot of people love Terminator 2, and I'd love it too, but I still think there's something about the first one that gets me every time, because it kind of helped that kind of classic slasher film feel, which is cool, because I am a fan of that. I mean, I'm going to talk about later about the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Halloweens and that sort of thing. But the Terminator, the first one, was really good, and the way they kind of took the sci-fi elements, the story, kind of the apocalyptic stuff, and they made a really engaging story to follow. The whole life of Sarah Connor, and what her son would mean to the future, and then the whole idea of Kyle Reese having to come back to save her, and he secretly has a love for her. And it's really interesting. And there's something to be said. I know people may say it's silly, they'll probably laugh at it, but there's something about Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance as the Terminator. I mean, I guess you could debate, maybe a lot of people could do it, but he even talks about it too. Like, he has this style where he like really takes it almost electronically, like a surveillance camera moves, like looking in the eyesight, the eye line, very, very meticulously, as if for the way a computer would think to do everything precisely and simplistic. He hits that really well, and it's cool to watch. I mean, the special effects are great. There's some scenes where they're better than others, but they really do hold up. They really do well. And the movie, it's semi-dated a little bit now, the original from 1984, but it still holds up really good. And I enjoy still watching it a lot. I could watch it again and again. It's really well done. And the sequel, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, is incredible. I think it loses some of that. It's a little overblown for me. I mean, that's what I don't like. It's kind of longer. There's a lot more to it. A lot of blown up. Like, I don't get into the whole explosions and things like that, which it does have a bit. But I think it still does very good. The whole edition of the T-1000 is awesome. That's really, really well done. Robert Patrick is great. Which is interesting is that, too, Robert Patrick's performance is originally what they had in mind for the Terminator. I guess because Arnold Schwarzenegger really wanted to be the Terminator, they kind of molded the first one more about that. Which, in a way, you think about it, in some ways would, it's a good debate, would, if you were Skynet in Cyberdyne system, would you model a machine that could be totally discreet, kind of like the T-1000, and do things like that? Or would you want a big, muscle-bound, tough machine to go in there and take care of business? Which way would you want to do it? It's an interesting debate, which would be better, which it would not be. And it all depends which you prefer more. And I could go back and forth, because like I said, Robert Patrick was great in that part of it. And in a way, because like I said, these both are great, and I love them both a lot. Getting Terminator 3, still a good film. I still enjoy it. It's definitely a step down. It does start to feel like a retread. And instead of a T-1000, they got a Terminator. It was an interesting idea to have a pretty girl in there, especially at the beginning when she's nude. But it's kind of been done. I mean, they did kind of make it interesting to happen again. They did make some appealing aspects with it. There's a new character. Why can't I think of the character's name? But they have they make another woman as another integral part of it. And actually, Terminator was reprogrammed by her this time, and not John Connor. And John Connor is just he's not in charge in this one anymore. It's fine, but it is funny the whole different angle they pick with this. And it's fine. I think it does good. You can sit there and enjoy it. Not as good as the first two, but it holds up. And if we're just calling it a closed trilogy, it does fine. It does fine along with the things I would have liked better. Maybe they could find a better way to line the story. Maybe a different plot twist. different little things like that. I don't know. It wasn't bad. They did do some big things back where they had Lance Henriksen return again in his role, and it was kind of funny. I got to be careful. I think the last time I gave out some spoilers, and I don't like to give spoilers, but it is what it is. You know, it's my take on it. There's bound to be a spoiler. Terminator Salvation, I could really only watch once. I couldn't get into it. I mean, it was a great idea. You know, the idea of, you know, I always thought, hey, that would be the next thing they did. They go back in time, go back to when, go in the future, I should say, when they do the, you know, the actual war, and see what happens. But I always thought if they did it, they really got to find a way to tie it into the first one. This is leading up to the point where they go back in time into the first movie. You know, it'd be tough to have Michael Biehn do Kyle Reese's character again in it. But at least lead up to that, kind of play into it, play these kind of playing that whole moment up and have it end, maybe even cut to black, with him time traveling into what would essentially be the first movie. And that's where I was kind of disappointed, but intrigued with what they did with Terminator 5, and I'll get to that in a minute, because Terminator 4, Terminator Salvation, other than nice few homages here and there, there's nothing to it. It's not really interesting. It's just blah. And it's kind of cool. They found a way to sneak Arnold Schwarzenegger, because unfortunately he was the governor at the time, the governor of California. And looking back on it, a pretty decent governor. But it just lacking anything eventful. But then, of course, after the governor stepped down as governor of California, they were able to do Terminator 5 or Terminator Genesis. And in theory, when I first began watching it, wow, this is an interesting idea. They're really going to get into the time travel aspect of it. That's essentially what they did. They took it and they made a whole nother thread of these different timelines. Actually, there's videos out there. Google the Terminator timeline. There's somebody that did a really good job of explaining and showing the threads, the way it weaves around. And they did in premise. I love it. I love the idea. It sounds really cool, because I think that was, for me, I guess, I always like time travel. You know, it's like about Back to the Future. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things about this series, besides the action, is the way they play into the time travel. And this movie really hit on it hard. Really good. The idea that, now see, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the whole idea of what they did, and I'd say right now, it's probably a spoiler, so if you haven't seen Terminator 5, turn the video off. The whole idea that John Connor himself was a Terminator, and it is a mess. The whole fact that he was a Terminator and they're going to make that the bad guy. I mean, it kind of kills anything for a Terminator 6. I hope they do make a Terminator and find a way to erase that from happening. And it sounds like James Cameron is ready to do it. I'm kind of psyched to see when he comes back, because that's cool. He's going to come back and put it all together. I think Linda Hamilton, they might even have Eddie Furlong play John Connor again. It would be really great if they brought all the people back and did it right. Robert Patrick, because I was kind of disappointed they didn't put him in Terminator 3 or even Terminator 5. They're talking about the Terminator, the T-1000. They had an Asian guy playing the T-1000. That's fine. He's Asian, but I remembered him. Have Robert Patrick come back. You got Arnold back in there. Have the T-1000. Make it an aged T-1000. Why not? Who cares? It's awesome. That's what people love about franchise. They want these people back. And it really stinks when you can't have an actor do it. When an actor can't do the role anymore, and you throw someone else in there, especially this long, it kills it. It kills it. Makes it different. I think the James Bond series has that little problem too, because people still love Sean Connery. Don't want to see these other guys doing it, or people that got him fell in love with the other character. Same thing. Terminator 5. They took a good idea and they really poorly executed it. I do hope Terminator 6 proves to be a lot better and kind of erases what happened in that. Maybe time travel actor, maybe they can fix it so that whole movie just never happened. Because they need to talk about it too. It is probably you could just erase that piece of history and forget that it ever happened. And hopefully they do. But yeah, the first one is by far the best. Second one really good. Third, it's misses some points, but definitely a watchable film, really good film. Fourth one, disappointing. And the fifth one could be really good, but they blew it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the Terminator series, and hopefully Terminator 6 with James Cameron doing it again will be just as good, if not better, than the others. All right, talk to you later. Bye.